Does the Ruth Stout style of gardening work? That was a question I asked a couple years ago. I've been gardening here in this spot for several years, and I'd always understood that adding organic matter on top of the soil was important. But what I used to do is I used to just add thin layers, and it was oak leaves or grass clippings or something like that. I never truly added enough organic matter to make a difference. 2 years ago, for the first time, I actually started to add a very thick layer of hay, as Ruth Stout prescribed, and this is the result. You know, I think in general we've seen better yields. We've seen fewer weeds. The rule is we don't weed, we don't water, we don't spray, we don't till. The only activity beyond planting and harvesting is putting hay down. And so when there are weeds, we just put hay down. When we're prepping for the in the springtime, we just put hay down. When we're in the summer slump and it's sort of dry, we just put hay down. We're getting the first rain right now, I think in probably about, you can see it rolling in there, in probably about 2 weeks. And these tomatoes here are taller than me and lush as can be. And I attribute that 100% to this method of gardening with hay very, very, very thick. We didn't till when we planted them. They haven't been fertilized. They haven't been sprayed, nothing. We just put hay down, planted the tomatoes, and wound them through these cattle panels, and we've been able to have amazing yields. These sweet potatoes have taken off, formed this arch, and this is, again, no tilling, no watering, no weeding, no fertilizer, no spray, nothing. It's just putting hay down. So in agriculture, we talk about 5 principles of soil health. These are principles we really focus on when we're talking about grazing and how we should graze properly and to build soil health. These are: number 1, as little tilling as possible, no tilling ideally. We never want to till the soil. Every time we till the soil, we break up the fungal networks and bacteria that's created all this living network that is in charge of decomposition. So we don't want to till. It's one of the things Ruth Stout figured out early on, almost 100 years ago, was that tilling is actually negative to the garden. So we don't till, limited to no tilling to build soil health. Number 2, we want as much plant diversity as possible. So if you look around me, we have corn and tomatoes. We have sweet potatoes that break up the soil. Potatoes are all harvested, but we had potatoes earlier that broke up the soil. We have beans and cowpeas that are legumes. We have peanuts behind the corn. Each of those things are serving a different function. So we wanted a lot of plant diversity. One of the really important things we want to do is we want to make sure we rotate those. We don't want to always put the tomatoes and the beans in the same spot year after year. We want to make sure those are switching places. So number 1, limited to no tilling. Number 2, lots of plant diversity. Number 3, we want as many continuously living roots as possible. Now that applies in a pasture setting when I can have a lot of continuous living roots. Here in the garden, these are all annuals. These will all be gone at the end of the season. And so this is a little bit different of a setup when I'm dealing with annuals. But I would say the important thing there is that we don't ever want to pull those plants out of the ground at the end of the season. This goes along with no tillage, but even though the plant isn't alive and the plant root isn't alive, there are a lot of things living on those roots. And so continuous living roots, and I would say leaving roots intact, is important. So number 4 is a really important idea in grazing and in agriculture, is soil armoring. We always want the soil to be protected. So we don't ever want bare soil. Nature doesn't want bare soil. In fact, I think often when we declare a war on weeds and we go and we weed and we weed and we weed, what we're actually doing is we're fighting nature. Nature's saying, I don't want bare soil. I want something growing in this spot. And we're saying, hey, I want bare dirt around my crops. And so what we're actually doing is we're fighting against nature. I think what Ruth Stout figured out is that hay, any organic matter, hay is what she preferred, is providing that soil armoring. We don't ever want bare dirt in the garden. That's this really important idea. It heats up in the sun, it gets colder in the winter, it dries out when you have extended periods with no rain. And so soil armoring is very important. In fact, I think if you go into our garden right now and you put your hand, even though it hasn't rained in a couple weeks, if you put your hand under the soil, you'll find that it's completely wet underneath. It's damp, it's cool, and that's ultimately why we don't water, because it retains that moisture underneath that soil armoring, and that's really creates that environment where you can have decomposition happen also. And the fifth principle of soil health is you're always better off adding livestock. It's always better off to have livestock than to not have livestock. If we are cutting a hayfield, if we cut the hayfield year after year after year, it's not as productive as if we cut one year, graze one year, and cut the next year. Livestock are beneficial. Here in the garden, what we can do is we can add manure, whether that's sheep pellets or we clean out the chicken coop or horse manure or cow manure, whatever it is. Adding livestock to the garden is incredibly important idea. So those 5 principles of soil health are 5 things that Ruth Stout figured out kind of inadvertently in the 1940s, and ultimately we're using in our garden today. But those are principles that are backed up by science today. So has the Ruth Stout method worked? I would say for me the answer is absolutely yes. I have increased yields here in the garden. I have more tomatoes, more cucumbers, more sweet potatoes, more corn, more of everything. I spend far less time on the garden. I don't weed, I don't water, I don't fertilize, I don't spray, I don't till. I spend far less time in every activity in the garden except for planting and harvesting. And so that time is very valuable to me, where there are a lot of things I want to do. I want to have a nice garden, but I want to do a lot of other things. So that decrease in time is really important to me. And ultimately, I think the garden looks nicer than it ever has. This is by far the nicest year we've ever had for a garden. It's our 2nd year in the Ruth Stout method of gardening, and I highly recommend it. Does it work? The answer is absolutely yes.